Hey everybody, I'm Bhise, aka The Terrible Australian of Supermastery.com, and welcome to my video review of the British period biopic, The Man Who Knew Infinity. So let's get right into it. Now, biopics are definitely a very interesting sort of subgenre of film. Like, they can be either done superbly, or they can just be done really poorly. But I guess it all comes down, well, not just, technique on like how sort of the filmmakers approach the stories, but it comes down to whether sort of the person that the film is the subject of is actually interesting. So to me, but to be fair, there have been biopics that had interesting sort of subjects, but they end up being not good. But ones who I didn't think were all that interesting end up being quite compelling. And with this film, The Man Who Knew Infinity, I must admit, I didn't really sort of know much about the real life people that this film is about, and the main one being that this it sort of follows the sort of the relationship between mathematicians and I'm probably going to butcher this one guy's name, so forgive me in advance. So if I get it wrong, so forgive me. The sort of the of Indian mathematician Srinivasa Ramanujan, if I've butchered his name wrong, forgive me, and who in the film is played by Patel, and of course G.H. Hardy, who in the film is played by Jeremy Irons. So the film is sort of about their relationship with each other, particularly with Patel's character, and this one's sort of more about him and Jeremy Irons sort of coming into his life and sort of helping him to sort of show how much, pretty much help him with his work as a mathematician, and sort of realizing that Dev Patel's character is probably one of the great mathematicians of all time. And so in that, I must admit though, when it comes to sort of maths, it wasn't my best subject in school. Like, I know all the basic math and stuff like that, but when it comes to sort of like full on, like maths, like math, like when you see in this film and others in the past, like, A Beautiful Mind and all that. That stuff kind of comes across as very complex to me. But at the same time, though, I find it really interesting as well. But it all depends on how sort of the filmmakers approach it, though, because math is one of those subjects where it can come across. It's sort of very, doesn't really work that much cinematically, because you've got sort of how sort of people come up with sort of with math, sort of trying to sort out mathematical problems and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it has to take a really great filmmaker to sort of make stuff like that really interesting. I mean, sort of like math geeks will love the crap out of that stuff, but for sort of like everyday people, it can just go completely over your head. Like, even though, like, that is weird to me, because like some of that stuff does go over the head, but at the same time, I'm very fascinated by it as well. So when it came to this film, I found that aspect really fascinating. But at the same time, though, as a cinematic story, that aspect wasn't as compelling as it could have been, but it's the stuff around it that I found really interesting, particularly sort of the relationship between Dev Patel and Jeremy Irons' character, which to me is sort of next to the sort of like Dev Patel's character's work as a mathematician. Their relationship with each other is one of the key elements of the film, and I found sort of their characters' relationship with each other really compelling, and I thought both Dev Patel and Jeremy Irons both gave really good, really strong performances, and I just really found their relationship one of the most compelling parts of the film, and also there's other stuff as well, sort of like how sort of Dev Patel's character sort of dealt with sort of prejudice and discrimination, and also sort of being not taken seriously by his fellow mathematicians at Cambridge, and that stuff to me was really interesting as well, and to me as a viewer, I found quite engaging, because it made me sort of really sympathize with Dev Patel's character and what he's going through in the film, and that to me was sort of one of the things that sort of maybe at least made me engaged by the film for the most part. That's not to say it's not a perfect film. Like I said, it does have sort of the cliches and whatnot, and there are some aspects you can kind of see coming and whatnot. There's also, and also the film itself, like, visually does come across as feeling like a sort of a slightly bigger budget version of a BBC TV film. And I don't want to sort of be mean to BBC TV films or whatnot, because I have seen quite a few good ones in my time, like Boye, for example. But I don't know, I think to me it just felt like this film would have been much better suited for being on TV rather than being in the cinema. Like, even though I did enjoy the film, I felt like it wasn't as great as it could have been. And I think sort of lacking sort of that sort of cinematic style, or at least approaching in a way that makes it feel more cinematic, would have been better. But for the most part, it's still still a solidly made film, and has strong performances. Besides Jeremy Irons and Dev Patel, the supporting cast are all really solid as well, particularly Toby Jones, who is just always great. But I kind of feel like there are some aspects of the script I kind of wish the film delved into more, and there were also some kind of subplots and all that I just felt you can sort of tell like they were just really tacked on, particularly sort of the subplot between Dev Patel's character's new wife and her relationship with his mother. Like, that sort of subplot and where that goes just was very cliched, and I don't know if that type of stuff actually what happened there actually happened in real life, and if it didn't, it wouldn't surprise me, because sort of how it's approached in the film just felt very just cliched and forced. So yeah, like, overall, The Man Who Knew Infinity, it's a solid film that's sort of elevated a bit, that's elevated by some pretty strong performances from the cast. But to me, at the end of the day, it kind of feels like a film that's kind of would have played better on TV rather than at the cinema. So if I had to give the film a rating, I'd give it a solid 3. Like, they could have done more with it, like in terms of the script and some of the supporting cast and all that. But for the most part, it's a solid, decent film. So, but if you enjoy films like biopics or films about math, I'd say it's worth a watch. So yep, that's the end of my video review of The Man Who Knew Infinity. I hope you guys all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all later. See you, everyone. Bye.